What's up, Super Otakus? It's your Super Otaku here. I get to get used to the new intro because I used to say things like, welcome Otakus, it's your tour guide here. But as you know, I recently changed the channel name to Super Otaku. And now I'm just having to adjust to that change. But how's everyone doing? It's the start of a new week. As you know, I read my comics on Mondays just to get the week started, and then on Fridays I'm here doing our weekly top 10 countdown of the week's events, news related stuff, comic book related stuff, things that catch my fancy. It's filtered through my lens. I'm a 90s collector, or I should say I started collecting like 1985-ish, 84, 85-ish, pretty late to the game from I guess a Gen X collecting standpoint. But yeah, 84, 85-ish, got into collecting really with no money. I didn't like have a budget or anything. I just scrounged together what I could and got books occasionally. But then it grew into more of a passion in high school and college. Um, and then I stopped collecting. It was a good, 85 through 95, I'd say. Maybe 97. Yeah, as late as 97. 97 is, I think, the year I bought my last comic. But I've been kind of falling out of it. So a good, 12-year stretch right there. And I picked up a lot of cool, really. I had nothing crazy in terms of a collection, but I had some valuable books. I did target, um, smart enough to target some of the bigger valued books along with the stuff that was coming out. And yeah, the bigger valued stuff, we ended up grading some of that. And yeah, I did again, I don't have the best collection in the world, but I do like what I have. And I got back into collecting during the pandemic. And yeah, since then I've just added stuff. It's kind of like I got to pick up the stuff I missed out on when I was younger. And it's been a fun process. So anyway, again, uh, we'll be here on Fridays and Mondays moving forward. I'm trying to keep it consistent and try to keep these two dates so that we build some consistency with viewership and people hanging out and dropping by. So yeah, again, thanks for joining me. We are going to get to reading some comic books. But before we do that, I do want to kind of talk about, what happened in my sphere, I guess, over the weekend. As you know, well, maybe you don't know, but local people should know. Seattle ended up opening up a new commuter rail line that connects Seattle and Bellevue. Now, Seattle and Bellevue historically, you know, it's relatively close, and there hasn't really been a need for necessarily like a railway way connecting them, because again, most people, I don't think commuting is that much of a headache in terms of like traffic and all that. It's relatively close, and up to now, you know, it didn't feel like having a rail would be all that more efficient than just driving. But, given the current climate, where I think people want to be, they want to reduce their carbon footprint, they want to have mass transportation, because that's, again, it's more efficient, uh, strain on our, or less of a strain on our grid, um, when we're not using fossil fuels in our cars, but just for the grid. And anyway, Seattle's finally made its big sort of service for the light rail here, by connecting these two major cities, in Western Washington. And Bellevue and Seattle is now connected by a commuter line. It's the first floating bridge commuter rail line in the world. It bridges the two cities across Lake Washington. And yeah, I took the light rail, one of the first to ride. It opened on Saturday. Our family took the train right around, I want to say right around 11 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. ish. We initially went to, we weren't going to go to Seattle. We took the train from our home, the stop near our home, which is within walking distance, to Spring Street, which is a couple stops, with it, and it's still within the Bellevue city limits. And we hung out there. There were some, every stop along the new rail line had some events going on. So we stopped there, and then we got to talking, and our friends were like, "Hey, why don't we just go to Seattle?" So we hopped on the rail again. Very crowded, but we hopped on and we went to China, International District, had lunch there, and then came back. So all in all, it was, yeah, it was fun. It's just nice to see, and support something new that's serving our community. We really hope. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to utilize the train, because it is. It's nice to just read something or do something. Like have your, uh, listen to a podcast or read a book while you're doing the commute. You just park and ride, and yeah. I think as long as you're utilizing it, I think it will make, alleviate all the driving, traffic, and parking that you have to deal with, in place of something, get you out, kind of moving and more active. So yeah, I was very glad to see that open, and moving forward, it should be a mainstay. All right, well, we are going to read a comic book, and then we'll kind of hang out and talk about what's kind of been top of mind for me with relation to the collection, and we'll go from there. So let me just share my screen here. Give me just a moment here. There we go. Hey, Ron. What's up? All right. Well, thanks for joining, as always. Hope you had a nice weekend. Nothing, nothing too eventful, hopefully. Yeah. Well, we got to put we've got to put our books, like, we got to put this in our, like, will and estate planning, right? What to do with the comic books. Hopefully, the family just won't give it for out to anybody who picks it up. Like, free to anybody who picks up the collection. No, hopefully they have more sense than that. But yeah, I did tell my wife, like, well, actually, we'll see. I'm gonna try to have my son manage it, but right now he's too young. If you asked him what he wanted to do with the collection, he'd just probably be like, whatever mommy wants to do with it. So, gotta put something together. I did tell a coworker at work. I mentioned to him, like, should something happen, that he should help my wife sell it. So, um, and I'm holding him to that. I think we have that understanding because he's a Pokemon guy, and he knows, like, first of all, he knows how to sell stuff. I don't, to be honest. Um I usually sell stuff at a really, like, steep bulk discount if I do move stuff. I'm not good at selling things um at their value or even a fraction of the value. Um just because I'm like, I just it's not a priority. It's like I kind of list stuff. I don't really stay on top of it or check it, and not that it moves or anything, but I'm not like a big, I'll give you a great discount or sale kind of person, because at the end of the day, it's like, but it's in my collection. I generally want to keep it. But lately, I've been open to maybe selling stuff here and there, so we'll see. Absolutely, Ron. Love it, man. Yeah, gotta put together the plan, what to do. We gotta give specific instructions to our loved ones, what we want done with the collection. And you're lucky, you have some grandsons there who will inherit the collection and hopefully uh, be responsible with what you leave them. But yeah, I mean, I think all of us need to at least communicate. Communicate with people. Hey, should I pass? This is what I want done with the collection. So, gotcha. Mowing is the worst, absolutely. And it's unfortunate that we have to mow in the summertime when it's hot and absolutely miserable. So, all right, well, let's get into this. Today we are reading Reign of Superman, uh, Superman number 79. And we have, first of all, this uh, incredible Dan Jurgens cover to kick things off. And what's really cool about this comic book is, well, you'll see, but it's written in a style that's kind of easier to read, because it's the thoughts of one of these um, staff members at the Daily Planet. And it's kind of written like a report. in a lot of ways, or like I guess it would be sort of like an essay or a diary type, um, maybe a journal type entry. But yeah, it's kind of setting things up for, uh, again, it's talking about cyborg Superman in a way where we're not quite sure what to make out of this figure. Is he Superman? Is he um, something more ominous? Kind of remains to be seen. So we're going to get into this book and we'll see how things unfold. Prove it. Think about it. If you're one of those who thinks yourself the best, the ultimate, the real thing in whatever you do, consider yourself lucky if you are never asked to prove it. Only a select few have done so. Lincoln proved his greatness by holding together a nation torn by war and by freeing men not acknowledged as equals. Martin Luther King did it by asking an entire nation to look in the mirror and take shame in the ugly reflection of bigotry. Joe DiMaggio swung the bat better than anyone else, and Superman did it by being, well, super. And the man I want to talk about, the man I would prove myself to if he were still alive, is the reporter who did it all, the best, Clark Kent. Yeah, that's right. Disk drives. Look at the disk drive holder. We all had that. It's full of little floppy disks. It's crazy. Back to the book. Here we go. Readers of this paper, The Daily Planet, have been familiar with Kent's extraordinary work for years, writing about economics, pollution, justice, crime, education, politics, and the human condition. Kent's brilliance touched us all. I marveled at Mr. Kent's clarity of vision and evidence of sound reason. I admired the man, his work, and the way he lived his life. Clark Kent died while covering Doomsday's rampage through Metropolis. As a result, those who cared for him, Jonathan and Martha Kent, his parents, Lois Lane, his fiancée, Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, Lana Lang, Pete Ross, and this writer were gathered to pack up his belongings and close down his apartment. As an investigative reporter, Clark Kent delivered some of the hardest-hitting pieces Metropolis has ever seen. He was also a well-received novelist with 3 books under his belt. Standing in his apartment in the midst of his friends, work, and awards, I suddenly realized how much we had lost with his passing. The Daily Planet was missing one hell of a writer. Clark Kent was the kind of writer I desperately wanted to be. It may have been morbid to approach Mr. White under those circumstances, but the surroundings were absolutely inspiring. The realization of the hard work necessary to match half of Kent's accomplishments was quite evident. But somebody had to fill his slot, and I knew I wanted to be that somebody. I had to ask. Perry White, a close friend of Clark's, could have been angry. Asking for a departed man's job while packing up his belongings might easily be considered crass and opportunistic. But Perry White recognizes and values hungry reporters. He told me how Clark Kent, a novice right off the street, came in with the exclusive on Superman after the Man of Steel had arrived first in Metropolis. Perry White challenged me to bring him a story so big he couldn't turn it down, a story so powerful and important that even Clark Kent would have been impressed. If you think you're good enough to fill Clark's shoes, you've got to back it up, troop. Prove it. Leaving, I felt like a 5-year-old marching off to the first day of school. I had no idea where to begin, but Kent's Superman exclusive was constantly on my mind. Back then, Superman was a great mystery to Metropolis until that story appeared. We had our own mystery to solve, 3 men and a boy, all claiming to be Superman to one degree or another, were trying to replace him, much as I was trying to replace Clark Kent. Doubt cast a shadow over all of them, but one in particular, the half-man, half-machine character, offered compelling evidence of being Superman brought back to life. I knew what my story had to be. Now all I had to do was find a way to get it. I made my initial inquiries by calling the Justice League compound, thinking that if anyone had some answers, it might be their civilian liaison, Max Lord. Oberon told me Lord was traveling to Washington to brief the president. If Lord had something to tell our commander-in-chief, he might be able to tell me something as well, so I hopped the first train to D.C. Expecting Lord might want to avoid reporters, I planned to stand outside the White House gates all day and night, if necessary. When his limousine pulled up, I coaxed him out of the car for a few questions. Hoping he wouldn't detect my nervousness, I asked Lord about the Superman. Even then, I had no idea what was about to happen. What had been a quiet summer day was suddenly shattered by sounds of chaos as the limousine, which had once carried Max Lord, surged forward, shattering the White House gates. Behind it came a green van filled with armed men bent on assassination, shouting, "Volkarak!" The vehicles accelerated, driving as far as possible until they were stopped by the barricades. Time slowed to a crawl while this happened, and, strange as it sounds, I could only remember something the intrepid Lois Lane once told me. When good reporters find themselves in good situations, they have to use it to their advantage. This was a scoop in the making. All I had to do was survive to tell the story. Inside the White House, a team of dedicated security personnel was reacting to the threat with haste and decisiveness. They would later claim that they were caught off guard by the suddenness of the attack because the Lord had visited the White House in that very car many times. What they didn't know is that the Karaki tourists had replaced the true driver with their own. As the long-range cameras picked up an approaching flying figure, the confusion inside the room worsened. They didn't realize he was about to save us all. The possible answer to the great Superman mystery went into action right before me. This Superman moved so fast and so powerfully that no one description will suffice. He was everywhere at once, tearing into would-be assassins with the ferocity of a mother lion protecting her young. But that proved nothing of his true identity. Despite the suit, the familiar S, and the cape, despite the exhibition of powers, questions persisted. Was this Superman back from the dead, or an imposter? Those questions were the least of his worries at the time. More important was his savage dismantling of the terrorists. It might have ended in seconds except for one thing. The White House war room began firing at our savior as well as the attackers. Inside sources tell me that the White House is protected by an impressive array of weapons supplied by LexCorp and Star Labs. The scanning computers, unable to identify him, could only regard him as an intruder in the combat zone and fired on him as well. The irony of the situation stunned Lord and me as we ran for cover in the White House. The man who had come to save the president might die in the process. The White House was not alone in having impressive weapons. The Karaki terrorists obviously knew they'd face formidable odds and brought the firepower to match it. As one of them fired a futuristic bazooka, this Neo-Superman began to change. One arm, seemingly constructed of metal, twisted and reformed into a cannon-like apparatus. Superman fired a blinding burst of energy before the assassin could concentrate his bazooka on the White House, and the matter was resolved. In felling the assassin, our unidentified rescuer did himself more harm than good. Now he was the sole target left, and the White House defense computers focused 100% of their targeting capabilities on him. No man, perhaps not even the original Superman, could withstand such an onslaught. The Secret Service tried desperately to shut down their defensive systems, but couldn't. The automatic override kicked in, and only a target with security clearance identification, such as a Justice League member, could satisfy their criteria. Somebody had to get a genetic tester out to Superman and get proof one way or another. The various agents ordered me not to go, but I ignored them. This Superman deserved his chance to prove himself. Bursts of energy and weapon fire erupted all around as I sprinted like a madman in Superman's direction. It suddenly occurred to me that I had no business doing this, that I was in way over my head. Even more, I knew that laser fire would pick me off like a rubber duck at a carnival shooting range before I could get within 50 feet of Superman. But then a strange situation got even stranger. The very arm that had previously changed into a cannon began to flex and change even more. The metal seemed alive as it slid, shifted, and transformed into yet another configuration. Seconds later, it was a sonic disruptor unit with the power to completely disable the security systems. Finally safe, I could use the identifier. Every single identifying process available indicated this half-man, half-machine standing in front of me was undoubtedly Superman. The greatest of them all, the man who paid the ultimate price protecting Metropolis, Superman, was rebuilt, alive, and well. He strode toward the White House with determination, confidence, and an aura only a true hero could muster. His commanding presence left them in awe. Even Max Lord, who lives in the midst of superheroes, was speechless. But Superman was all business, telling us the terrorist attack might not be over and a thorough security check was needed. He wanted to access the White House computers, which in turn could tap into virtually every computer system in the world. The bizarre metallic portions of Superman's body came to life once more, and he integrated with the system. I could no longer see where the man ended and the machine began, as he actually grew cables and unearthly devices that melded with the White House computers. In the midst of my joy at seeing this great American alive again, I suddenly found myself slightly uncomfortable and a little scared. None of us know what he saw or how a human actually talked with computers, but looking at him, I had the feeling he was seeing the secrets of the universe. Staffers tell me the White House systems connect with all military branches, federal agencies, and worldwide governments, as well as numerous civilian systems. If he was able to network all of them, it's quite possible that Superman now has the single largest database of information ever assembled. In those few seconds, he tracked a news article about some plastique stolen from LexCorp, credit card charges for rented storage lockers, and a limousine rental and briefcase purchased that enabled him to become our savior once again. As this new Superman disconnected from the security system, he looked over in Max Lord's direction with a cold, hard expression. He stared at Lord's briefcase as though he was looking right through it, and then that unique jeweled eye began glowing. Before Lord could object, Superman's scarlet burst of heat vision melted his entire briefcase on the spot. Superman, speaking in a metallic-sounding monotone voice, told us that the terrorists had brought a briefcase identical to Lord's, put a bomb inside it, and switched it while Lord got in the limousine at the airport. They knew their brazen attack might not succeed, and also knew Lord would eventually get close enough to the president. Even though they would die, Lord would still become their assassin. We were all left speechless, all except one, that is. A voice from the entry thanked Superman not only for himself, but for the entire country. It was a historic meeting between two powerful men of the free world. Superman accepted this man's thanks and told him that should he ever need his services, he merely had to contact him on a special device. Superman actually seemed to construct it, even grow it on the spot. He handed it over, saying it was personal communications device, something he'd never given any president in the past. With that, the president accepted the device and acknowledged this Man of Steel as the one true Superman. Look, it's old Bill. It was an impressive and touching sight for this president. For this president had spoken so eloquently at Superman's memorial service not long ago. Now they were meeting as friends, with Superman proving himself the real thing, the greatest of all. It's inexplicable, but Superman has come back to life. It seems beyond our understanding. But so were the rumors years ago of a hero from a planet called Krypton. Fortunately, a young writer named Clark Kent proved himself by bringing us the truth. Superman has returned, proving himself to us all over again. Clark Kent cannot return, so others must take his place and prove themselves deserving and equal. It's a daunting task, but well worth the effort. Those evaluations are up to you. Wake up, Ronald, it's morning. Oh, Mr. White. I'm really sorry about this. I was working so late that I... Say no more, Ronald. Your story here shows you only filed it a few hours ago. Care to talk about it? I gave it everything I had, Mr. White. I hope it's up to your standards. You were on the scene of a presidential assassination attempt, son. That's a scoop by anybody's standards. A few years ago, a young reporter came to me from out of the blue and dropped a page one scoop in my lap. I think history has repeated itself. You have quite a name to live up to, Ronald. Congratulations. I'll give you everything I've got, Mr. White. 100%. Superman is back. All right, so there you go. I'm gonna put that user on timeout. Slick Willie, yeah. We got Billy Bob Clinton here. It's funny because this Bill Clinton, because in hindsight we know that this is not Superman, right? Cyborg Superman is not the hero. And Bill was going through his own. I'm not at this point in time, but in a few years he'd be going through his own little scandal. And of course, he's linked to the Epstein files and all that. So, Clinton's legacy it's hard, and it's marred kind of like Cyborg Superman's legacy. So, all in all, this is just a stroll down memory lane. Boy, how this was this was one of those really at the time when it came out, this was like a pretty monumental book. It was the book that had kind of established, okay, this maybe is the real Superman, right? In a lot of people's minds, a lot of people thinking, okay, you know, what's the mystery behind this? And yeah, um, obviously we get to it. We get the big sort of battle and reveal as we get going. But yeah, this is definitely one of those moments in the story where we're led to believe something, and then um, we get the true reveal in the subsequent issues. So yeah, just looking forward to the next installment here. Going to give you a preview of what we're going to cover next. It will be. I actually want to read this Bloodlines, because it's more about sort of the cyborg Superman. And I never really got to. I never read this one, so I'm just curious now. Like how this fits in with. Uh, Again, more context on this character. So this is what we're going to focus on for the next session. So we'll see you back here Monday. We're going to read Superman Annual number 5, Bloodlines, and just give you kind of a preview of what to expect. Some stuff here going on, and go from there. All right. Well, I want to talk about. I want to talk about. Well, first off, let me start by saying, I recently made a trade with Big B, and I threw a bunch of my books in from like X-Men, a lot of this, Spider-Man, X-Men, a lot of the Marvel stuff that I wasn't that into, and fortunately for me, Big B didn't want this like 90s fodder stuff, and so I didn't add it to the collection. But this was also some of the stuff that I was like um, considering just to like add as part of the trade. But I'm really glad I didn't go through with it, because I really love this just this comic book. I mean, it's not worth much, but just it just with the poly bag and the card. And I do have the death. Sorry, I do have the Max card somewhere, but I'm thinking I may have given that book away now that I think about it. In fact, there are 2 books that are missing. I looked for them after Keith's passing. I was just like, oh, I really hope I have those books still. One is um, Marvel Comics Presents. It's it's a Sam Keith cover. No, it might be a Joe Madureira cover. But it's the issue that features Joe Madureira's first artwork for Marvel. And I love Madureira. I mean, Madureira is one of my favorite. And I just remember being like, I want to keep these issues because it was during the Keith run. But for whatever reasons, I just thought, as much as I love Joe Madureira, I don't really have any of his books currently in the collection outside of like one or two copies. Um, I figured maybe we'll pick up a better looking copy of this particular issue. So I might have just added it. I did keep like Jay Lee's first artwork and some of the other keys from the Marvel Comics Presents run, but I think that particular copy of Madureira's first art got traded away, which is a bummer. And I know I have the Max Card polybag issue somewhere, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think that that darker image might have been part of the Jim Lee books that was, the overflow stuff, which is why I think I kept this copy with the Deathblow card copy. I think I had the Max Card in that, which now I really want the Max Card now. It's like, I mean, I love the Deathblow card, but that Max Card is the one I think you should target for I mean, if you're going to target a card, that's the one, right? But yeah, I still have the newsstand copy, and we have a really nice polybag edition here. I've got the signed book. So I mean, I used to have like multiple copies of this, but now I think I'm down to 3 copies, and I'm fine with that. Again, I do want the Max Card, so we'll be looking we'll be hunting the dollar bins for that. I just feel like right now, with Sam Keith's passing, it's just a lot of collectors are going to be now wanting to add that issue or wanting to add the Max Card polybag edition. So I just feel like it's like graduated from the dollar bins. I just feel like that book, if it's sitting somewhere in the dollar bin, it's probably coming out and getting a better sticker price for it, just because it's now something probably collectors will want to add. But yeah, hey, what's up, Kenneth? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I think it's nice to see Sam Keith's books. There have been a lot of nice tributes. His books are kind of trending. And I know I, for one, have like, I have a really nice copy of the Acts 1/2 that came with the Wizards promotional. You had to kind of send in mail order it, but it came in this nice little sleeve with the COA and all that. But yeah, I have one of those copies. Apparently, they don't have a print count or a census count of how many of those things are, but there's a lot of those Wizard half with the COA and the original little sleeve. A lot of those are selling on eBay right now, and they're still, pretty cheap. They range from anywhere from like $10 to $25 right now. But there doesn't seem to be any like I think, I don't know, there seems to be a lot of copies of that, so don't go crazy. I mean, there's the rare ones, I think, like the red foil and the blue foil, but the purple foil, which is the standard sort of mail away copy, that one seems to be pretty prevalent and plentiful. So don't go crazy. But yeah, I mean, again, uh, Sam Keith, Jay Lee, these guys were just kind of coming into their own right around this period. And we love Jay Lee, but I was saying earlier how Sam Keith, when he came over and did the Max, that book was, I mean, we'd never seen anything like that. The story was completely original, really dynamic artwork and story, but it just was so popular and so kind of cutting edge. Uh, Really, I think a lot of young people just like connected with it, um, just because it was like it had a cool cool factor about it. Um, there are those things that you kind of get into, whether it's comics were big during that '90s era, and because it was artwork and story. What's cooler than that for kids or young people? But yeah, I just remember like my generation just really being into the Max. It was, again, it ran for a season. The Max series ran for a season on MTV. It helped usher in sort of this animation slash um, uh, adult themed kind of comic related content, and that was kind of the '90s. It was this sort of graduation from what were predominantly like stories aimed at kids to now just like full on uh, being the medium for modern storytelling, you know. And I just felt like, um, you had like literature, and then you had comic books, and you had the art world. And it's like all of these things fused into one during the '90s with kind of edgier um, comics. And it was being drawn, it was being illustrated by a generation of creators that really had something to say. It's like Sam Keith, for example, had something to say about um, the mental health, social issues, um, addiction, um, you know, homicidal, psychopathic tendencies, all of these things that were, I think, a generation was kind of dealing with, uh, or coming to terms with, I should say, as you know, they were seeing crime, drugs, communities kind of struggling with um, issues of economics, issues of um, sort of inequities, social inequities, economic inequities. These things were all kind of bubbling to the surface for this brand of comic books. It wasn't just the Max, it was also um, things being introduced in independent comic books. Um, so you had all these books exploring um, sexual identities. You had all these books exploring gender issues, exploring racial divides, social issues of the day. Um, and you no longer were, you know, tethered to superheroes. You could really write about anybody. And I think that's kind of what made Sam Keith special. He kind of like showed us the possibilities of what this medium could carry, and really kind of opened the floodgates. Now you had, I mean, it started with a lot of, key people at the time, like obviously Gavin is a big one with Sandman, but um, you had the whole Vertigo line, you had the whole, uh, you know, like Alan Moore and The Watchmen. It just kind of opened up comics to be something more than, I mean, that it could really be literature. It could really be thought provoking art. It could really be a medium that um, elevated uh, art, like um, creative arts, right? So, um, yeah, it's just a very interesting time. The 90s, again, ushered in so much innovation in this industry, really helped mold and build what the current comic book industry is. And what it is it's really a diverse offering of stories, and got all these various publishers still. You still got the main DC Marvel line, but you've got so many more um, publishers out there that continue to kind of be independent voices and thought, uh, you know, thought farms for the diverse readership out there. So there's really a story in a comic book for everybody. Uh, and no matter what you're going through or what your identity is, or, you know, um, there are stories that uh, sort of touch every genre, every, explore every kind of idea, theme, period. Uh, it's just very broad. So, um, and that's always kind of been there in the underground comic scene. But again, it wasn't until Sam Keith came along and he kind of like bridged the two. You had sort of this world of independent comics that were kind of for all the, you know, the true geeks, right? The true comic geeks that were kind of like um, dealing with themes and adult kind of content that was kind of weird and out there. But then when that started to become, again, during this period here with Keith kind of leading the way, you saw indie comics kind of become more mainstream, and you saw uh, the medium uh, incorporate more kind of bold voices and subject matter that hadn't been there before. And so, um, yeah, that's what made, I think, comic book collecting really cool. Like 95, 94, 95 on, you just had an explosion of different stories, different characters, different creators, um, all aimed at different target audiences, and all kind of trying to find their niche and voice. So it was just a real, um, yeah, I mean, you could get into a lot of different stuff and enjoy it all. And that's what's cool. And that has carried over even into today. Today's comic book collector has a really robust choice in things to read, and um, it's really nice to see. That's the nice thing. When I got back into collecting, it was really great to see all these like kind of indie slash we've had some of them on this show, right? Just people with talent and creativity, wanting to just create their own story, wanting to create, having something to say, and putting it out there, and really, um, uh, again, it's um, when you have talented people, you know, being creative in this medium, there's a lot to enjoy and appreciate. And so, yeah, um, I think we all owe, creators like Sam Keith, uh, a debt of gratitude for ushering in what was really at the time, right, sort of an experimental kind of venture. But Image just wanted to do everything. Image was kind of like, what DC and Marvel won't publish, we'll do here in the pages of Image. And yeah, the Max was kind of a testament to all that. But soon other comic book companies followed and kind of went more, you know, um, off the deep end in terms of violence, sex, and that kind of thing. But yeah, this is kind of again, it helped open the floodgates on all that creativity right around the mid 90s. So, um, absolutely fundamental stuff here, comic book historians. Yeah, I feel like what sort of what makes independent comics cool is also what keeps them back a little bit, because you want an independent comic to be um, not mass appeal, not not kind of censored for mass audiences, right? You really want an independent book to kind of challenge the boundaries of what's possible, have a very unique either look, voice, or something something very unique. And that's hard. It's hard to come up with something absolutely innovative and unique these days, um, from the comic books. Again, because you had this flood of just every which way, every story, every character, I mean, and everything imaginable kind of was just like, you know, regurgitated here in the mid 90s. And only really like a few standout pieces have stood the test of time, right? And one of those is the Max. Fortunately, the Max is given all its commercial success, but you know, it when it debuted here, Darker Image, this was kind of like um, it felt very like an independent type book because it was solely created by one guy. Um, it was a rather just sort of um, kind of flash in the pan comic book run, typical, like not a not ongoing to the point where like you got sick of it. It was kind of like it ran its course. It said what it had to say, and then it got its own animated series, and it just kind of became this sort of cult thing for a few years, and then that the comic boom just kind of died. And but what we're left with is this incredible artwork, story, uh, an absolute gem of a character here. This was like Fight Club before Fight Club. I mean, it was phenomenal. How many quote unquote like copycats there are now with regards to this sort of like, I guess it's not the first. It's kind of like I guess the first um, time I saw it in like creative sense was um, Brazil. Brazil kind of that ending where it makes you everything's the story runs up to a certain point, and then you question whether what you're seeing is um, somebody's the actual story or the dream, and then you realize at the end, oh, it's somebody's imagination, and it's a really dark, depressing ending for Brazil. But again, the Max does it in a slightly different capacity, but it's sort of the same concept. Um, but yeah, just again, you don't. This went on to obviously influence this sort of blurring the lines between reality and psychosis. So it's really sort of a fascinating space to explore. So it's the Matrix. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could draw, these parallels to, you know, stories like the Matrix, right? Where you're questioning your reality. That kind of became sort of the modus operandi for post um, Max like stories. So again, the really cool stuff, I think, and I think really the people who are going to appreciate Sam Keith are the old school collectors. Like the people that were into this stuff in the 90s. So I'm talking specifically Gen X collectors like myself, but um, maybe some older guys, maybe kind of like um, not quite Gen X, but kind of like the tail ends of the Gen X generation, right? Uh, Tail end boomers, tail end millennials would probably be into stuff like this, but it really is going to be just a group of young people because you have to. I think you had to be kind of within the sort of the maturing age stage, like a young adult, into MTV, into all these like Beavis and Butthead and all this. Like you had to be kind of in that space to really um, appreciate the Max for what it was. If you were older than that, or if you were younger than that, it would have never crossed into your sphere. But again, I just feel like I was right at the right time, at the right place for when this book came out. It really was targeted at me and my generation of people who were collecting comic books at the time. So yeah, again, Sam Keith, absolute powerhouse of a comics creator. And that's the thing, you don't have to write a gajillion comic books. Sometimes all it takes is really one powerful one powerful work of art to define your legacy. And not every artist or creator has that privilege. You know, not everybody writes sort of a generation defining, uh, you know, one of the most innovative books to ever be published type of works. But that's what Sam Keith did. And he was given free reign by Jim Lee and the Image people to come over and work on this thing. And man, did it really, yeah, it defined this era, this generation. So it's cool. In the end, there can only be one. Yes. Um, and you know, that's the thing. Like, um, as all these like tributes and kind of remembrances are kind of coming in, um, it's really cool to see the comic book community, and I mean from like, you know, the creative standpoint, you know, guys like Jim Lee, guys like Rob Liefeld, guys like Todd McFarlane talking about um, when guys pass, guys like Sam Keith pass, or guys like people they've worked with, or people that were colleagues, former colleagues, when they pass, you see them say things, and it really shows uh, how much of a fraternity, more so than sports or anything else. I think um, you don't necessarily have to like have been friends or working or anything like it. You don't really have to even have met the person, right? But when you're working in the same industry and you kind of quietly observe what, you know, like Jim Lee observing what Sam Keith had done, or Sam Keith observing what, you know, Todd McFarlane had done, you all have sort of this like mutual admiration and respect without necessarily working intimately with one another. It's just like you're all kind of working in the same space and creating the same kinds of things, but you're all having your different takes and different ways about um, telling your stories. And um, again, I think anybody who works in this medium just kind of joins this fraternity of uh, creators that you don't necessarily have to be intimate with one another, but you love the process, the work. You respect what you know, certain people have done, and so that's what I appreciate about it. Like I just saw J. Scott Campbell talk about how Keith had given him some words of wisdom and feedback on his work, and how that stayed with him, you know, for many years. And they didn't really have a lot of contact, but you know, J. Scott Campbell was obviously a big admirer of Keith's work. Uh, saw the genius in Keith's work, and really thought Keith was, you know, in a league that was far beyond what he or most comic book artists could reach. And it's just nice to see an artist as talented as J. Scott Campbell just kind of like, you know, recognize and put into context what most of us, what we viscerally can kind of feel and get from the story and artwork. Here was an actual creator, his like contemporary, you know, fellow like comic book artists, just putting into context what made Keith stand out. And so it's nice to see again all these tributes and um, the fraternity of creators when they lose one of their own, how they come together and hold these little remembrances so that um, it's there for posterity, right? It's there for like to put into context what the fraternity says about its own. It's really something like you can't be some geek off the street like me, like some collector trying to say some poignant things about um, the legacy of a great creator. No, it's really the people that were in the trenches with Keith creating these kinds of stories, these works um, that have the sort of the right to pay homage and tribute to him. So again, those have been really nice as those have poured in, and these Sam Keith was young. Sam Keith was young, and I know Ron, you mentioned he had passed from some complication, but it goes back to like why are we losing these comic book creators? Like why are they having health issues? Why are they um, why don't they have the coverage and the care to really address these issues? And why are they dying from cancer? Why are they dying from late stage cancer and all that? It just I just really hope it's addressed by the comic book industry. Like these quote unquote independent creators, you should be. It's not just about money at the end of the day. It's about giving them additional benefits that where you do more than just give them a paycheck, but you give them comprehensive health care, give them something enough savings or whatever for their retirement. You just got to give them more, I feel like, than just like, okay, this is a job, we'll pay you this much, and then you go do whatever you got to do. It's like, yeah, okay, man, it's tough. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with what this disease is, but it just sounds absolutely tragic. And, again, like, we don't know that there's no residuals in comic books, although if Keith were receiving residuals for the Max, I mean, I would imagine with MTV being off the air, it probably amounted to very little. But, I'm sure, whatever medical bills and whatnot, I'm sure it was probably challenging for the Keith family to keep up with. So it's really just, I don't know. It says a lot about our industry, our country, when you have these people really passing before their time. And, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, everybody's, we can't live forever, but it would be nice to see just like comic book creators dying naturally, in, you know, at the ripe old age of like 80 or 90, it's like we pass away at 60. It's just too soon. Um, all right, enough of me, a little ranting here on a Monday night. But I do want to like send a shout out to Jens. Jens recently published his first video. I'm going to put the channel name here for you guys to go follow. So Ron, I know you probably have gone and checked out the channel. Maybe you subscribed. But everybody, if you follow me, please go to @CollectorBrain, sub up and follow my friend Jens. He's just starting out on YouTube. Just published his first video, which was like just a simple recent comic book haul. But he talks about kind of who he is as a collector, and kind of how he's moving forward and with bringing books into his collection and what he wants to do on the channel. So yeah, go check out his channel, give him a follow, and support him, please. Great collector. But yeah, Jens and I have been like we've been kind of fanboying on Sam Keith stuff. And it all started with him. It's weird because it was like we were both out, and on our last, we had hit 3 comic book shops, and on our last comic book store at Ancient Comics, I don't know what prompted Jens to get the book, but he was digging and he just found a book. He really loved the cover, and it was a really clean copy, and I guess the cover art just spoke to him. And I've experienced something like that. I was out and I picked up a Neil Adams book that had just spoken to me. And then I learned of Neil's passing. It was just weird. It was kind of like I was out and I got this Neil Adams book, and then I learned of his passing. But yeah, it happened to Jens, which was weird. It was weird because we came back and I messaged him like, dude, like Sam Keith passed away. He had just picked up this really incredible, probably one of his best cover art pieces. I think if you ask any fan, that Wolverine Venom cover is about as iconic as it gets. And anyway, ever since that, I know I've been thinking about Sam Keith a lot, and I've also been just kind of reappreciating things like the Max, things like Darker Image and all this stuff, and this period. And it's just been a nice little stroll down memory lane for me. And I just kind of want to pick up the Max card, Darker Image, only I just want it now. I just want to find it and get the Max card. That's really, and again, some of the, I think I wouldn't mind picking up more of the Marvel Comics Presents run that Keith did, and maybe some back issues of the Max. I mean, I'm just kind of like, I definitely want to find it in the dollar bins now, kind of hunt for the dollar, go through the dollar bin and hunt for Keith's stuff. And I think Jens and I are probably going to plan that soon. We're going to probably spend our last, $10 just digging and looking for Dollar Bin Keith books, but yeah, who knows? You know, this is a lot. You know, we've had creators come and go, and their books get kind of hyped and all that. But then there are those creators that they go and it just creates this fever, like Neil Adams, George Perez, and I imagine Sam Keith is going to be among those. It just creates this fever, like I need more Keith Bell. You know, it's like, um, so yeah. Um, anyway, I'm sure, you know, again, I think Keith is not everybody's cup of tea. Again, like I said, you either love his stuff or it just missed your generation. But hopefully, you guys will, if you love comic books and you kind of want to see um, really one of the best comic books of the 90s, hopefully, you'll go back and give the Max a read. Yeah, I think it's just worth your time. And so here we go. Little this is what it's about at the end of the day, you know. Jim, Stan, Rob, just you know, it's what it is at the end of the day. It's just people doing what they love, fans loving what they do, and creating sort of a love for a medium. We all love this medium. That's why we collect. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me on this Monday night and letting this old guy get on his little soapbox and talk about comic book collecting. Thanks for doing that, Ron. Really appreciate it. And let's know. Oh, Ron is one of the best old school collectors you will meet. And so, Ron, I wait the day our paths cross, my friend. I really want to do one of these comic book meetups where, you know, it probably means I have to fly to some other part of the country. But a lot of people have been doing this. They've been like focusing on either Heroes Con or right now C2E2 is going on, but you know, just some major convention where I think, you know, people in the community just kind of decide, hey, let's hit up this year, who's in, who's out, you know, kind of thing. Hopefully, I don't know, for me, like San Diego makes the best sense for me. But I know a lot of people that are there on the East Coast for, you know, what is it? The one in Florida. There's a big one in Florida. And obviously, Heroes Con is another one that a lot of people in my sphere have already kind of done the group thing. So, right? I just feel like I know there's one in Texas, and it's the one Kaufman's Comic and Card Show. I want to say it's West Texas or North Texas, somewhere there, but I think it's near San Antonio, if I remember correctly. It's the one Fanboy's always raving about for comic books and toys and stuff. So I may do that one because it's just like, Ron, you're in the vicinity there. It would allow me to go meet up with Fanboy, and who knows? I just feel like if enough people say, "Yeah, let's meet in Texas or somewhere," big Texas Comic Con. Okay, I don't know if it's that one. I think the one, maybe that is the one. I don't know. There's one big one there in Texas that I guess if we were to do it, I would want it to be though more comic intensive, so something with a lot of creators and stuff. Because if I'm gonna fly all the way down there, I don't want it to just be some show, but some like place where maybe Jim Lee will be or something. Just something compelling to like spend the money to travel and do all that. But anyway, we'll have to. Here we go. Ron's doing the research for us. 9th through 11th. Do you know which creators will be there? I could do like Friday, Saturday, I guess. Okay. He's not coming to Texas, huh? I know Jim does San Diego every year, so I mean, I think San Diego would be fun. I mean, if you're gonna invest the money to fly somewhere, stay in a hotel, and get tickets and all that, like San Diego, it's not necessarily you're not going to pick up a lot of books, but you're going to be able to meet a lot of creators, right? You're going to be able to get a lot of books signed, um, maybe even pick up like something, mostly like kind of modern, exclusive type stuff. And we'll see. I've always wanted to do San Diego because I've never been to San Diego. So, if somebody's, I guess, yeah, I mean, our friend Ryan Odagawa is there. He's always tabling there. So he and I have always talked about just me going down there and hanging out with him, helping him with the show and all that. So that's something we still really want to do, but I don't know. It's always been on my end. I just, it's got to kind of plan and invest time and money into an excursion like that. So we'll see. I mean, it's definitely not going to be this year with oil prices at what they are. And I don't know. I guess if the war ends anytime soon, by this summer, you might see some steep discounts on airfare and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to necessarily see. I mean, we'll see an end to the war for sure, but will it be sooner rather than later? I mean, that it remains to be seen, right? So we'll see. Okay, cool. Yeah, I love the Terminator. That'd be kind of cool. All right. Yeah, I was I think I was looking at this summer con. There's this comic book kind of show convention here in our area called SummerCon. It had William Shatner last year, which is pretty cool. They got like Shatner still signing books and meeting with fans and all that. There were a lot of big names at the show, like Star Wars actors, and just I think the Smallville cast was there as well. It's just really cool stuff like that. I actually kind of regret not having gone to the Smallville thing. because I love Smallville, and I'm big fans of the entire cast, especially Kristen Crook. I mean, just seeing her in person would be like, I'd just be fanboying out there, right, with her. She's so she's so beautiful. Um, but yeah, I mean, they haven't come out with their comic book creator guest panels yet, or who's going to attend. Um, so I don't have any plans to do that one unless, again, if there's like a big artist or creator that, um, it can't just be any creator. It has to be like somebody like I really like follow and like. Like if it had been Sam Keith, right, something like that on that level, um, I would definitely just want to go to that. But yeah, we'll have to see who come attends that one. And I don't want to close the door on San Diego yet, but we'll see. I mean, maybe, if I take a couple days off, we could even road trip down there. Although that might be more expensive than flying with gas, what it is. But didn't used to be that way. It didn't used to be like you could plan a road trip. Like we could drive across the country and not have it be. When I was in college, I drove across the country, I think 3 times on road trips. And it was never like, cost was never really that big of it. I mean, it would actually save you to rather drive than rather fly, right? It was like cheaper to drive than fly, just was more time consuming. But I feel like that those days are gone with where fuel is. Fuel costs are these. What's up, Tyler? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining. So yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be this year, but we'll plan something, right, Ron? Let's let's just put our thinking caps on, and for me, I think summers are work best for me. If I'm gonna try, I'm willing to travel to where you know to where you guys are, and again, it's something I don't expect you guys to come up in my neck of the woods. If anything, we can meet up somewhere, some kind of designated spot that you're all able to make. But I definitely want to kind of come out to where you guys are versus um, vice versa. Yeah, we've been talking about Sam Keith for a big portion of it, but also getting together. Because I don't know what got us on this thing, but like I think we're just kind of in the frame of mind where kind of like carpe diem, you got to do things today, then put them off. And one of those things was appreciating community, definitely not putting off meeting, you know, your favorite artists or creators, but really, really about just taking time to like meet up and go to a show and just do stuff together. So Ron and I were thinking, yeah, we should probably meet up and hang out and have fun at a show, just do what we love to do and just dig and get comic books and help each other out at a show. That'd be kind of cool. Oh, are they? Well, there you go. All right, we got to. Hey, if you're I think next year would make sense for me. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you guys are in, this is what we're doing. I would definitely be on board for San Diego Comic Con next year. And I mean, that's one where pretty much you have the big names, right? You get all the big names at San Diego. And who knows, there might be like some old school, like if Brian Boland decides I'll make San Diego this year, like how awesome would that be? Or John Byrne just crossing the pond. Those guys would, oh man, that would just be so amazing. But yeah, let's let's plan on San Diego and just kind of put the idea out there for the rest of our community members and see where that goes. Because again, if I think 3 or 4 people like really commit and say, "Hey, we're in," I think more and more people would be all over that. 3 days for 90 is really reasonable, right? That's a good one. The Baltimore Comic Con, that's a good one too. Yeah, I guess it's all where like airfare and hotel land. Yeah, Jim Lee will be at that one too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's uh let's keep our options open here. That's a good one. That's one I wouldn't, because I mean I know for example Nam and Young would be able to probably come to Baltimore. Roger could probably come to that one. A lot of the you know guys in that area. There are a lot of guys in the New York, Washington D.C., Baltimore area that um, would be able to come rather easily. So yeah, it's a long flight, but figure you plan early enough, and you can probably get a really nice little package, city package there just for the weekend, right? So um, you'd only need what to stay 2 nights. If you're doing a 3-day package, that'd be kind of fun, actually. All right, well, that's definitely an option. So the VIP is where you get the signatures as well, or what's the Jim Lee signed package? Is that $90? I'm gonna go check it out, Ron. No need to do that for me. I'll go check it out and see what the options are. But that is, you're saying, in October, which I'll just have to check the schedule now to see if that will work. But man, that would be fun. That'd be a blast if just everybody came. If we all got together for that, that'd be a blast. No pressure on anybody, but it would really have to be, I think, multiple people getting together for that. But oh my god, $600. I mean, what do we get a lap dance from Jim Lee? What is it $600 for? Jeez Louise. Well, you get some original artwork? That's crazy. I'm going to check it out, but I mean, that seems a little. I mean, you get to chat with him, or is it like, does he draw a comic book for you? Yeah, all right. So you're getting like what, 10 signature books or something? Yeah, I get it. I get it. No, $83 for the signature, I get, but like 600, it's. I'm just wondering what you get with that. It seems rather steep. So you get what, like, oh, I see. You get some signed stuff. Yeah, I don't need like a signed backpack or any stuff like that. I just maybe three, four, five, up to five comic books signed would be good. Original art would be more incredible. You know, just like a little sketch or something would be incredible. Doesn't even have to be inked. It's just like a pencil sketch or like an ink sketch. That'd be cool. Oh, some sketches. Okay. Yeah, if you're getting sketches, that would be worth it. That would like like requests. You could make requests, right? Like, hey, could you draw Superman? And he just sketches you like a one page sketch, original sketch. That'd be freaking dope, actually. Now I'm thinking it's like that's a bargain now. Yeah, you get a one page sketch out of that with some signed books. $600 is nothing. My wife is gonna kill me if I even broach the topic. She's gonna be like, "Are you freaking crazy?" Oh man. Oh, so it's random. Oh, okay. Not everyone's doing it. That's kind of. That's kind of. I don't know. If you're getting the sketch, $600 would obviously be, uh, you know, bargain basement uh, deal. But if it's just a chance to win, that's changes the calculus a little bit. But yeah, I mean, my wife would just be like, "What are you nuts?" She'd be like, "You pay $83." Anyway, this is all like fun stuff to like fantasize about, but we gotta I guess think about it and plan it, see where we are. But I'm definitely down if other people are. So yeah, that seems reasonable right there. 250. I'd do that. That's on top of the 90 that you're paying for the 3 day. So you're looking at like what, about 350 plus airfare and hotel for 2 nights and whatnot. I mean, you're looking at like $1,000 right there just for the weekend. So I don't know. Gotta do some saving, man. I gotta save or sell a bunch of stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to like check it off the list yet, but I mean, whether we go to San Diego, whether we go to Baltimore, it's kind of the same deal all around. So, all right, let's uh let's think about it here for a minute. Well, it definitely won't be this summer. October, I don't know. A miracle's got to happen between now and October. Like some extra cash comes in, or a bonus comes in, or something comes in. But we'll see. All right, Ron. Thanks for getting my hopes up, and thanks with the pricing to kind of make it real. But we'll see. Let's keep it in the back burner before we commit this stuff. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to go. I definitely want to go. So if we can make the economics of it work, just gonna have to bite the bullet on some of this stuff and see where we go. But yeah, that's cool. That would be right there. 4 signatures, perfect. Because I have about 4 books I want signed by Jim, so that'd work perfectly right there. Maybe I could do like a fly in, fly out kind of thing. No, that's too taxing. It'd have to be like fly in, stay one night, and then fly out the next. That's tough. That's tough to do. But that may be our best option. Just do one night instead of all 3 nights. But we'll see. Oh man. Yeah. It's hard to get hotels because when they announce these things, like when they announced, "Hey, Jim Lee's coming," it's like you get all the local people and the people close by just booking stuff right away, and then people plan like late, like myself, or can't get rooms and plan anything. So, all right, Ron. Well, thanks for all the information. Let's uh let's percolate on this. Percolate. Let's let the idea percolate a little bit, and we'll figure something out. that is that is the fun. Yeah, yeah. For me, I you know I think it's worth making the trip again just to meet everybody and hang out. Um, that's the main thing. It's like I was saying how there's a fraternity of comic book creators and all that. We're talking about like how J. Scott Campbell didn't know Sam Keith all that well, but how he highly regarded Keith as a colleague and somebody who kind of helped him progress his skills and somebody he whose art he admired and tried to emulate, right? And it's a fraternity. And so when someone, when one of your brothers or people in your fraternity pass, you don't necessarily have to be that close or intimate with them to really be able to kind of speak on their behalf. And, you know, uh, again, I think the people that really define your legacy and um, speak to your work are the people are is the fraternity, right? It's the people in the industry, the people that create, the people that you work with, or the people that come after you or before you who have spoken on your work. And it's really nice to see again, like people like Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, all those contemporaries who worked with Keith come out and say all those, you know, really nice things because that's ultimately what's going to define Keith's legacy, and it's also what's going to, for the rest of us to really put into context the substantiveness of Keith's work, not just our memory of it, but really like when those guys speak to why he was special, what made his art incredible, and all that. It's like when the fraternity speaks, you listen, and it's what's there for posterity, right? It's like it's defining the legacy there for people to understand. And I feel like that's the same way for our community as well, like the comic book community. I was talking about, I recently met up with Big B and Psychotronic Squirt Gun. And these are two guys who, I was introduced to them through their content and just messaging and chatting. And you don't know quite what to expect until you actually meet the person. Um, but I feel like within the comic book community, it's not everybody. I don't want to make a blanket statement that anybody who collects comic books is going to be like part of the community that I fraternize with, right? That doesn't hold weight or water. But um, when I met with those two guys, again, they kind of are in my it. They live in kind of my neck of the woods, but we met, and I just felt an immediate um, connection to them, and that we spoke the same language. When we were digging in those like half price book 50-cent bins, we were all just like, we had the same look of intense kind of focus, but at the same time, like we were in our element, we were having fun. Um, you just don't get to share that kind of passion with others. Like just people, others are not going to get that, what that feeling is, or like the lingo, all the things that come with being a comic book collector. It's just going to be on different levels for different people. But luckily, these three guys were all around the same age. We all probably collected the same kind of stuff or read the same kind of stuff growing up, although I wasn't into indie books and horror as much as those two other guys. I was into this kind of stuff, the image stuff and whatnot. And but anyway, my point being, like, when you hang out with fellow comic book collectors, and I'm talking like, like the real collectors, the one that probably have back pain from sitting on the floor digging through long boxes on a dirty floor. I'm talking, right? Like not like a nice carpeted take your shoes off kind of floor. It's like a dirty, linoleum tile floor. Um, some comic book shop, or just digging through like 130 to 100 long boxes for the afternoon and finding like 4 books to take home. It's just like that kind of people that who do that kind of stuff and enjoy it, like truly enjoy it. And that's the fraternity I'm talking about. And so it's like you kind of like speak. I think we all have the same or similar type, you know, upbringing, right? Probably just working class guys who kind of got lost in these stories and these books, right? And see value in stuff like this, right? And yeah, when you kind of meet up with people like that, again, it's special because they're like brothers. They're like, it's a fraternity, and you don't necessarily have to like um, see each other on a daily basis or um, be in each other's backyards or whatever. It really is like Roger. I've never read Roger. I've never met Damien. Actually, no, sorry, I met Damien, but even with the limited exposure to each other, it's like that passion there, the passion we share for this hobby is it's kind of what binds us. So it's just kind of like the level of intimacy you have without actually meeting people versus people who you see every day and you talk, the small chat, the small talk and all that. It's like night and day. Like people who speak your language, hundreds of miles from you, I feel more connected to than the people I see each day and talk, like whatever, politics, current events, whatever's going on. It just doesn't hold the same weight as like, like comic book shock talk. So it anyway. Um, yeah, Ron, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, I feel you, man. I hope you put out a video for the OKC show. I just want to get a sense of what kind of I'm sure it's like a great show, right? It's probably gonna have like tons of vendors, probably a lot of dollar bin, bargain bin type, real good deals on wall books as well. Like I just kind of want to see like get a sense of that show because I don't think I've ever seen a show out of OKC. So yeah, hopefully you can kind of share or at least share here, come here and let us know what kind of show it was. But yeah. All right, my friend. Uh, get some well deserved rest. And I'll see the rest of you back here on Friday. We'll cover some more books and talk more comic book stuff. But in the meantime, have a great week. And yeah, take care of yourselves. See you later, man. Peace out.